Welcoming Val again for our session today entitled Leading the Future of Work, HR's Playbook for Staying Ahead. Welcome, Val.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. I'm looking forward to hanging out for this next hour. Hopefully we get a chance to come up with some questions afterwards, so please be ready with those. Otherwise, I'm always available if anybody has questions at any point. So I'm excited about this topic today. So leading the future of work, talking about HR's playbook for staying ahead. Now, first and foremost, what I would like you to walk out of this session is that now is the time. Now is the time in order for you to focus on you and elevating your playbook for leadership. I know that you spend all day taking care of other people, right? Yep, seeing lots of nods here. Now, I know that happens inside work and outside work, but we won't talk about that here today. We're not going to talk about that. Instead, what I want you to remember is that as you elevate your skills, you elevate the company. And that's why I don't want you to feel guilty, because I see some looks when I talked about now's the time to focus on you. What I see is these looks like, oh, Val, who are you kidding? No, we need the time, we need to focus on you because that will elevate the company. So you don't have to feel guilty about focusing on you. And guess what? The momentum is with you. 70% of CEOs agree that HR is more important now than ever for the business of the future. So you've got CEOs on your side. Now, the challenge with that is that even though executives want HR involved in the vision, involved in the strategy, what we're seeing is that CEOs don't have confidence in HR's ability to actually lead in and actually be able to help with that. Now, if you look at this and go, Val, I don't know where you got this source at, because my CEO, I'm trying to kick the door open and they're not letting me in there. So what I'm gonna give you today are those skills that are gonna get you in that room. This isn't a matter of asking, this is the fact that what I want you to have are the skills, your playbook that's gonna get you begging to be in that room, getting your CEO to be begging to be in that room. So now, the challenge though, we're not going to get in that room. We're not going to get involved in strategy and vision if we double down on running the business work. Now, I understand that they are critical. I understand all those things are critical. Those tactical things are very, very critical. I get it, but that's not what gets you in the room. That isn't what's going to have you leading the future of your company. Now, the challenge, we have to balance that with employee development, but it's employee development for innovation. It's not enough just to do your job anymore. We need this innovation, because let me tell you what, you just do your job well, you're gonna get run over because there's some other company that's doing better at innovation. And the way change has quadrupled, 100,000-fold in these last 5 years even. And so what we're seeing is that it's not enough to be good where you're at. And that's why as we look at this seesaw, or not seesaw, what is this, a teeter-totter? What's a seesaw? Is that the same thing? Oh, all right, good. See, it's been a long time. So, sadly, a long time. So it's that balancing act. Now, the great thing is we have some tools that are gonna help us with that left-hand side of that teeter-totter. But on this right-hand side, it's about innovation. It's about transformative change. And it's also about really keeping pace with emerging technology. So we're going to talk about all of those things today and really drilling into what it's going to take, what we want on our playbook that's going to help elevate our skills to lead the future of work. 3 things we're going to look at. First is strengthening your leadership. Secondly is about HR's strategic role within your company. And finally, we're going to harness some emerging technologies. So this is a 2025 study from HR.com talking about the business HR leaders say that they need most in the next 2 years. Communicating effectively. Now, when I talk about communications, what I'm talking about is turning data, people data, and talent risks into clear C-suite messages that influence investment decisions by your executive leaders. That's the sort of communication I'm talking about. Thinking strategically. This really connects the workforce towards organizational value creation models. So again, it's about that money and connecting our people to how it is that we make money. And what I want you in that room trading, debating HR moves at the C-suite level. Next, it's about executing key initiatives. This is, anybody attend I see several folks in here from the project management that I did on Saturday, pre-conference. Yep, see a few folks. All right, good. This is why this is so important. Why project management? Because this is about applying project management merciless rigor to organizational-wide initiatives that across culture, across technology, across innovation, and process changes, all of these things that will lead your company into the future. Partnering with other functions. This really is about embedding HR within the business units. So one of the things I have to found the Oxygen channel for Oprah Winfrey, and one of the things I used to do, I would actually go sit every week. I'd stay 1 week in my office within a quarter. Within my office area, I was 1 week in my office. The rest of the time, I would go sit in other departments because I didn't want them freaked out when I walked in the room. Oh God, Val's coming. Well, oh, don't look. Don't look. What's going on? Who's being fired, right? That's not what I want. I want to be embedded there in their organization and them to say, oh my God, Val, is it our week for you to be here with us? That's fantastic because now they're looking forward to it because of the value that I bring and how I help them in their day-to-day organizations. So as we think about, I want that's the level as I think about partnering with other functions and really them wanting me. Same with our C-suite, right? I want them wanting me to be at that office or being in that office, being at that table. And anybody who's been to any of my sessions knows that I am like a hardcore supporter. Like I just feel like there is so much that HR can bring to the table that it is a shock when CEOs don't do that don't have you at the table because of the value that you can bring. So this is why we have to demonstrate that in our own playbook in order so that they understand the value that they're missing out because we're not at that table. So really partnering with those other functions because not only do I want to be embedded in them so that they see me as value, I want the leaders of sales, customer support, marketing. I want every one of those people, just in case I got an obstinate CEO, I want all of them saying, hey, we need Val in here for this conversation. Why is Val not in here? Why is HR not in here? Because of the value that she brings. So even like I said, if your CEO is the block, go after everybody else. Get everybody else in that room, partnering with them to get everybody else coming in and saying that you need to be in that room. This is strategic communications. This is strategic allies. This is about building allies outside of the HR function. And what we do is go after, when you think about who you're partnering with, don't start with legal. Not that I have any issues with legal. No. We want to go after the value creation. We want to go after sales, I want to partner with production. Who makes money for the company? That's who I want. That is who your CEO is most going to listen to. So don't go with we got to partner with everybody else, but don't go after an operational. Don't go after an overhead department. Go after those folks who are making money. I want you so embedded with them that they won't make a move without reaching out to you. That's the level of partnership that I'm talking about. Facilitating change. So this is really orchestrating the side of the people side of M&A, digital transformations, org redesigns. Like, there's so much. There shouldn't be a change initiative going on in your organization that you're not involved with. And we'll talk about that a little bit. You should be leading those efforts. I don't need to understand the technical parts of it. What I need to know is people in order to lead it. And that's what you are so uniquely qualified to do. Finally, it's about leveraging HR data and analytics. Look, this is about retention. It's about quantifying retention, ROI, skills risk. I want to see productivity drags so that really talent bets that we propose are actually competing head-to-head with other CapEx requests. That's the level of when I'm talking data analytics that I'm speaking about here. Now, first and foremost, got to start with upskilling your communications. So again, as we look at those 6 skills that were on there, upskilling your communications. Now I'm going to have a spotlight stage today at 1 o'clock. Let me give you a little preview of that. First, it is about leading with the why. It is about leading with the why. If we cannot hear me that I'm not saying you don't lead with what you did. You don't lead with action. You lead with the impact. You lead with the why it's important. It's about impact. If you cannot quantify the impact, no one should be on board. So it's about the impact, it's about that why. You're going to elevate it to the strategy level. Again, getting back to the impact to the organization. Why it's important, what is that impact? Because that's what everybody in a C-suite room wants to hear about. That's where they focus. They just don't get down into those tactical details, which leads us to cutting that doggone clutter. This is not something that you need in there. It is about framing for decision making. Framing for decision making. Meaning, when you walk in, it is about presenting it in such a manner that it becomes about, it's a yes, no, option A or B. And what we want is communicating it such a way that we're going to get that yes every time against other CapEx projects that all those other departments are going forward with. So really, where is your communication? How often do you challenge yourself to get up in front of a group and speak? To get up in front and try to negotiate or influence or sway someone using really hardcore data that comes in and supports the why and supports the strategy. Quantify the value. Everything comes down to money. Nobody at that level, you can't contribute unless you understand how every action you take contributes to the P&L. You got to understand bottom line. We'll talk about that. It's about anticipating objections. You speak in headlines. We don't speak in long, drawn-out sentences. This is a little bit about cutting the clutter. I want you to be down and dirty with exactly what people need to know. Nothing extraneous. Nothing extraneous, because the moment you start going into the detail, anybody work in an engineering environment? We don't want to be those engineers. We love those engineers. I'm an engineer myself. My undergrad's in mechanical engineering. I get it. I mean, the fun's in the details if you're an engineer. Let me just tell you what I did. No. We can't do the same. So I don't want to hear about actions. I want to hear about the why. I want to hear about the strategy, what the impact this is going to have on the organization. So we do that by speaking in headlines. And then we close with confidence. We walk out of there, we got to have, again, this is a strong close. And by the way, when you win, what do we do? When you get the yes, what do we do? Zip, thank you. Exactly. And then we go out and we celebrate. I like that. I heard somebody say celebrate. It's my people. Again, we have to elevate those communications. Now, I had someone in the session either yesterday or Saturday ask me, Val, I got so much to do. You gotta be kidding me. You're asking me, because I was talking about strategic networking, that if you think about like a 4-box, so I want you to think about on the x-axis, on the bottom, I want you to think about supportiveness. So we got 4 quadrants: supportiveness, and power and influence. If you think about the top 10, maybe 20 people that you deal with in an organization, how supportive of you are they? And what's their power and influence? Those people who have high power and influence and high supportiveness, those are your allies. Those are your big guns. We need a bunch of those. We need those in our corner. We need a lot of those. The more you have of those, particularly if it's if the CEO level, the more people, the better chance you have at being a part of the organization, a part of the team that leads into the future, that gets you that seat at the table. So it's about those communications. It's about leading at that level. And so I want you to strategically start networking. If you have issues, if you don't have a lot of allies, high supportiveness, high power and influence, we got to work on that. And yes, I know you have a lot on your plate, but I want you who's interested in being promoted here? Raise those hands high. Come on, let's see. All right, good. Oh, I like that. That woman's like, hey, me, right here. I like it. Absolutely. If you want to be promoted, please understand that at some point, you can maybe get up to manager, director level, and I'm using the corporate speak in the companies that I've worked in. To get up to a vice president level, it's not my boss's decision anymore. It's my boss and everybody at their level. Once you're getting to a VP level, it's not, because it is about now leading cross-functional, cross-organizational initiatives. So I need them to say yes. Oh my God, Val's not a VP already? Let's fix that right now. That's gotta be, that's wrong. That's the level. That's why we have to be out, and I want you working with those VPs on a regular basis so that they're confused that you aren't a VP or a CHRO already. That they're surprised by that and just saying to the CEO, get that fixed right away, because that's a mistake. Now, let's think about, again, strengthening this leadership beyond HR. So I talked that this strategic role, this strategic partnership role. So I want you, so according to Prosky, so as we think about this change initiative, 70% of transformation fails due to people issues, due to something, the people side of things. And McKinsey spots 70% of those because of the people are resisting, that it's employees resisting and lack of leadership. So that's the thought on why these transformations fails. And the challenge is nobody understands the people side of business better than you. No one understands people better than you. This is why, as we think about partnerships and about your strategic role, it is about leading innovation efforts. It's about leading organizational change. And it's really about organizational issues. All of that, you should be at the helm of that because you understand people. Understand, it is not the science. It's not the technology. It's that the people do not get on board with change. This is you. This is your opportunity. Now, this means that we got to understand how your company makes and loses money and the direct connection with how people fit into that, how that dollar value of your people fit in. So embedding, this is why that embedding yourself in areas that are tied to the bottom line is so critical. That's why if you go after anybody, action item coming out of here, on your Playbook initiative, one of the action items that should come out of here, how close are you? How often do you speak with sales or production? How often do you speak with them? Whatever it is, bump it up. Bump it up, because those are the people who have power. And those are potentially the people where you can come in, and I've got some really interesting ideas on how you can help sales and help production, help these departments with things like innovation transformation. So again, thinking about this. Now, let's talk about elevating strategic leadership. I got it down to nine things here. So long-term focus. Your CEO speaks in terms of 3 to 5 year horizon. That's the horizon you should be speaking about. That's where you should be thinking, is 3 to 5 year horizon. Not, again, so in essence, again, back to that teeter-totter, those critical running the business stuff, that's here and now. That's today. That's the next 6 months. That's today. That's in a year from now. I want you talking in 3 to 5 year terms. So does your organization have a strategic 3 to 5 year plan? If they don't, why not lead that effort? Why not lead that effort for your CEO? That's showing your value. If not, if you're not the CHRO, if you're not that VP of HR who has that, why not come in and look at that to figure out how to do that and propose that to your boss for them to take forward? And oh, by the way, you want to be a part of that. You want to be a part of that process. That's going to help elevate your skills. Next is about customer understanding. Let me tell you, so understanding your customer pain points, that's going to give you intel on how you staff the whole organization, what skills you need, and what rewards that you need to do to drive loyalty by customers and therefore drive revenue. That's why I want you involved with sales. Go on a sales call. Go on a sales call with your salespeople to understand who your customers are out there and what their pain points are. That's getting you embedded and partnering with sales. Competitive analysis. I'm talking about who are your competitors? What are they doing better than you? Because this is your opportunity to build skill gaps, to close those skill gaps, to keep your company ahead of the competition. Think about the discussion that you're going to have with your CEO when you come in and talk about, hey, by the way, this is the level of service that our competitor is offering. This training or adding this layer, adding, let's say, sales assistants in, is going to help us not only close that gap, but be better than our competitors. That is a conversation that your CEO is going to be interested in having. And that's why it's not just enough. See how this is really about elevating those skills, about expanding beyond your core knowledge of HR. Your core knowledge of HR is your job. That's your job. You got to be good at that. Totally get that, which is why you're here, right? Learning lots of things. What we want to do, though, is start focusing on beyond that, because that's what your CHRO worries about. That's what your CEO worries about. And once we get those skills under our belt, that's what's going to give us to that next level. That's going to make sure that we're in that room planning the future of the organization. Profit understanding. Look, you can't lift margins. You can't do anything unless you understand profit levers. Same thing with business landscape awareness. Like all this inflation, this regulation, tariffs, tech shifts. Let me tell you, this is redrawing talent economics, to be quite honest. And that's why we have to embrace this and know this, as hard as it is sometimes, in order to sort of be aware of everything. But it's about HR's really got to spot those trends first, or at least be a part of that conversation so that we can lead what that means for our employees. This is about decision-making agility. This can be hard. Understand your CEOs, most CEOs, if they have 70% of the information, that's considered a lot. So we have to do the same thing. We have to decide fast. We have to pilot it. We have to learn, and then we have to pivot from it and refine what it is that we're doing. I love doing things like an A/B test. If you have an idea for a new program or something that you want to test, run 2 consecutive A/Bs. Run 2 tests with different groups, 2 different control groups, finding out so you can get data in a controlled environment based on some new initiative that you're rolling out to see whether or not it was effective. I did this with sales associates. So they're the second in command to the sales folks. So those second in command, we had a training program that popped up and we had them controlled, those who didn't and those who did. And the question was, on those who did go through the training, did it make a difference? Did we see a difference in their ability to handle customers better, to handle customer requests, to help the salesperson out? Did it equate to the salesperson being better able to make more money for the organization? If we didn't, that's all right. We learned, we refined it, we pivoted and did something else. That's what we think about this decision-making agility. Innovation. Again, innovation is back to change, right? As we think about innovation, I want you out there leading this. I want you out there leading these innovation, these business-wide efforts. I want you on the cutting edge of that and teaching people what it means to innovate. How many here have like learning programs internally that's all on innovation? That's on innovation. I'm seeing maybe 10 hands, maybe 12. Innovation is the future. That is what's going to keep your organization ahead of the pack, ahead of its competition. So, and as you thinking about that and thinking about how you're going to lead that in order to help everybody come up with new ideas, how everybody thinks about innovation as part of their job, down to the receptionist, on how he can do his job better with just a little bit of innovation, that's the level that's going to bring your organization up and be a fierce competitor, to be ahead of the pack. And that's what you can bring to the table. Next is change management. Boy, if I beat that horse to death, right? This is all about, look, I don't want HR chasing change. I want HR leading it, because that's how good you are. And again, what's that number again? 70% of change and transformation fails because of the people. Not because the idea was bad, it was because the people. Lastly, we got to build trust. We have to build trust. It fuels influence. The more that you build trust, the more that you're going to come in and have the backing of everybody at that C-suite level. So we got to focus on those things, trust. And when I say trust, it's going to be hard to say, it's going to be hard to hear. I'm just warning you right now. Please understand, you are judged by your staff. If you have a weak member on your staff and you put up with it, it's hard for me as a leader in other organizations to come back and really, if I'm struggling with somebody, it's hard for me to trust that you're the person to go talk to because you've got a weak team member on your team. So understand that all of that rolls together, and so you are only as good as the weakest person on your team. There's a difference between learning. There's a difference between learning. We're all, we all have to learn more things. So that's a different story than someone who is not performing. If you are hearing comments from other departments that are telling you this person isn't good, look, if it quacks like a duck, it's a duck. Blah, 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 whatever that saying is, you know what I mean. So think about this, that trust building gets us in the room. Now, let me give you some metrics. I've got some HR actions that I can directly tie into metrics. And there's also, so these slides are available on the app, by the way. They should be available. Can you get to them? All right, good, thank goodness. I had challenges with that over the weekend. So these slides are all available, but I have more metrics and a bunch of other stuff in this QR code. So talking about knowing your customers. So again, this is back to this idea that if we understand our customer's pain point, then what we can do is build programs around it that are all centered around helping the customer. So what I would say is shadow sales. Sit in and support calls. Take calls from customers and sit in and listen to that, because that's going to give you staffing, training changes. Maybe there are consistent things that you can either come forward to help the folks who take those calls or are out on those calls, or that will come in and actually directly affect the customer and improve their life. That's you. Understand that the only people touching your customers are your people, are your salespeople. So we want to make sure that they have every tool available to them, and you get people. Also, turning really those pain points into hiring and learning opportunities. Now, competitors in your market landscape. So we used to do SWOTs on the offerings of other competitors. Yeah, of course we did it with HR. We did it with with the folks who reported to me. But we do SWOT on competitor offerings, talent. We looked at SWOT, and yeah, we went in on LinkedIn and looked at what strengths, weaknesses, who's there, who do we know? Salespeople all know each other. So who's those hot salespeople? How is it that we could potentially target them? So we do a skill lift that was baked into the L&D budget. We went after skill plans in 90 days. We did sprints in order to improve where we thought, how is it that our customers are beating us? What is it? Is it something that a product or service they're offering? Is it their customer service? What is it? And yes, we used to do blind sales calls, acting like a customer in order to gain information about how our competitors were running their business. Because the question was, what could we appropriate in order to help us gain an advantage over them? Now, what I want, by doing things like this, I don't want you closing the gap to catch them. I want you closing that gap and then overlapping them. That's the goal. That's why innovation, you leading innovation, is so important. And lastly, so driving enterprise-wide innovation. So I have always, in any of my organizations, we have an innovation council. We talk about, I lay out innovation, we set out innovation competitions within the organization. That we take innovation ideas from anybody, and whoever gets it, they get a significant chunk. Like it was like $3,000, $5,000. Like this is money attached to it. Now it meant who we picked, and once we implemented, they got a bonus for it being picked, and then a bonus for implementation. So they're invested in it. Again, this is to drive innovation and getting people thinking about how do we constantly improve? How do we improve? So having a contest, having design thinking sprints, this sort of stuff can be staggeringly helpful in making sure everybody thinks about innovation and how to do things better. And one of the things that we used to do, this is why to me, getting your HRBPs in those innovation teams, having them integrated with the organizations, not just from an employee relations standpoint and everything else that they do, but also leading innovation, driving innovation. I want them in the weekly sales meeting to be asking the question, what do we got to do to make your job easier? What do we got to do to make it easier to sell, to make it better to sell? What do we want to do? It's a great place for HRBP. It's a great place for your business partner to be in. So I've got a lot more metrics on here, of HR actions to metrics. So let's think about now, what I want you to do is think about where you spend your time. Where do you spend your effort? I want you to think about the last week before you came here, although that's a scramble getting ready, right? So I'm not sure that's a standard. But in your standard week, where do you spend your effort? Where do you spend your effort versus the impact to the organization? Are you stuck in fill-ins or thankless tasks, or are you working on projects that have an impact, either big or little, small efforts to big efforts? Where are you spending your time? If you're caught in that teeter-totter of the tactical, that's at the cost of impact. It's at the cost of impact. So we've got to get out of these fill-ins and thankless tasks. We got to get out of that, because it's the impactful projects that's going to have a difference for your organization, but also have a difference for your playbook, for your leadership, and the fact of making sure that you're at the table, because it's the stuff of impact that you're that your C-suite, that's what they want to talk about. I could tell you, I look at this on a weekly basis. I ask myself, how did I spend my time? Was I at least 60%, 50 to 60% in those things that have an impact to my organization? If I am not, I have to then look back and learn and say, did I have to be in every meeting? What could I have, did I truly have to be in every meeting? What could I have done better? How could I have arranged my schedule so that I had time for impact? One of the things that I do, I'm a morning person. Who's a morning person? Actually, all of you are, since you're here at 9:15, right? All right, maybe a few begrudgingly, but otherwise you're here, like I said, I'm on fire in the morning. Let me tell you, afternoons, it's not so great. Which, thank you for all those people who came to negotiation yesterday, which was from 1 to 5. I'm like, oh my God. So I don't open up email. I open up email just to scan it for anybody who's critical, like client questions, like house on fire sort of stuff. And then you know what I do? I close email down. Because I'm on fire in the morning, I work on my hardest, most difficult things that I need to do, because that's when my brain is firing on all thrusters. That's when I'm able to come in and really think of those innovative ideas. So I use my time when I know I'm at my best to make sure that I'm working on those things of impact. And then I check email at lunch and I check it at the end of the day. I do email at the end of the day, because again, it's not when I'm at my best. So use your time wisely so that you can focus more on those things that have an impact. Now, a great way to start at this, a great way to start thinking about, again, your future and the future of your organization and leading that, is to look at 2025, 2026 plans, 3 to 5 year plans that exist. So I want you doing SWOT analysis on your organization. By the way, I do SWOT analysis on my departments as well. I do SWOT analysis every year, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats on my department, so that I can figure out where are we not servicing our organizations? Where can I come back and improve upon that? But I want you to do it at a company level. Then I want you to take from that SWOT analysis, you can conduct a gap analysis to identify where the organization currently sits and where it needs to be, because that's going to give you great information on where you should, that 3 to 5 year plan, on what I need to start doing now in order to be competitive and again, still, and more at the top of the competitive list in 3 to 5 years. And then using fishbone analysis to identify root causes for the differences, for that gap. This is how. Now on the stuff, that little QR code, if anybody downloaded it, I have a how to run a SWOT, how to run a gap, and how to run fishbone on there, if that's something that you're not familiar with. There's also electronic forms. So the great thing is you don't have to worry about that. You got all that stuff on here. It's about doing the analysis, because that's going to tell you what you need to focus on, where you need to focus your efforts. I cannot stress enough. Can you speak finances? Can you look at a P&L, your company's P&L, and be able to make decisions? Can you look at your balance sheet, your statement of cash flows, your income statement, and make decisions about how your company is doing and where your company needs to focus? If you cannot, then you need to put this at the top of the list. The great thing is, who didn't like math? Who didn't like math? Oh, yeah. You're like, Val, man, I don't want to do math. I don't ever want to look at that again. You don't have to do math. This is not this. You know what? You got Excel, you got programs. That your finance department has programs out the wazoo that's doing math for you. What I need you to do is interpret the numbers. Way more interesting than doing the math. Because that's where the power is where are you spending your money, and what's the result of that spend. And you control the people. So every spend almost has something to do with people. And so this is your realm. And that's what's going to help you in leading the future of the organization, because you can speak financiers with the best of them. Now, I've got strategic HR moves that directly hit the P&L. First is innovation to speed. So one of the things that I work with a car company, pretty big one, they're always, they're rolling out something all the time. We do 6-month rotational programs. So that what we do is we're trying to cut down on recruiting because it's such a bear, right? Oh my God, it's such a bear. So what we do is we pick out rotational people who are going to go into that and start them 6 months before doing a rotational, so that when the car launches, I've certainly got as many of the positions filled already, and they're ready. They actually hit the ground running, not the first day in the business. So it's about really building that bench, which is the same thing as succession planning, right? We want that for our senior leaders as well, that succession planning. It's the same thing. But here is a specific, if you are launching a new program, this is a great thing to take a peek at. So these are launch critical roles that you can have fully staffed internally and let somebody else take over the routine tasks. It's a great way to bring value to your organization. And also what this does, your CFO ready metric brings your time to fill critical roles down. That's why we do this. Revenue growth. So micro skills for sales sprints that add new cross-selling opportunities on every time somebody calls. So what we do is 5 to 7 minute video or quizzes that pop up for add-on products, for that attach rate, because we monitor that, which is, you call in and they want a ticket for, you're buying a ticket for Andrea Bocelli. Well, you know what I'm going to do an attach rate is I sell you a VIP ticket when you came in and you only wanted a regular ticket. Now that's attach rate. So you're adding a sell on top of that. Why not have a video script that every time that they do on their 50th call or 100th call, here's a little video script that has to pop up that reminds them on best practices to upsell or best practices for an attach rate. We can also do, again, it's about this micro learning, right? Micro learning. This is an outstanding way to get those customer service people, to get those sales people performing at a higher level. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do a control group. It's always about measuring. We're going to see where we are with the attach rate or the upskill rate, whatever you call it, whatever your internal organization uses. We're going to see where we are now. Try it on 10 people. Try it on 10 of your salespeople. See if it makes a difference. And if it does, then roll it out to the entire sales folks or your entire customer service stack. That's how we look at how the efforts we have are directly going to come in and affect the bottom line. So again, I've got 18 of these ideas on moves that you can do that hit the P&L. By the way, this is the same code it's at the end as well, so don't worry if I move on. And if you already downloaded it, it's there as well. Now, you may look at this and you go, oh my God, Val, you're asking me to do all this? You have got to be kidding me. I'm being run down by time now. Being run down by time. It's killing me now. And now you're asking me to do all of these other things? You're asking me to do all these other things? You got to be kidding me. You're killing me. AI to the rescue. Now, who's a little sick of talking about AI? Oh my God, look at that. Wow, very fierce there, right? I feel ya. Like I am telling you, I am just kind of done with it, to be quite honest. But we need time. And this is what AI gives us. There are so many things that AI can do. That AI can take all that, remember back to that teeter-totter? there's so much that AI can do to lighten that tactical load for you so that you have more time to focus on the more critical pieces, which are the strategic pieces, the innovation, the change ideas, all of these things that add more value, have more impact to your organization. So I want it to look at not just streamlining HR processes, that's where we start. What I would suggest is that you pilot with an HR process, use AI to figure out how to streamline that, and then start looking out. Then expand your world because you know AI and have done it, and you can come in and share the fact of where you found more efficiency based on rolling out some sort of generative AI. What am I talking about? AR, you are, they are. There we go. And we want to get rid of that repetitive tasks, like those sorts of things. They just kill your soul, don't they? Kill your soul. L&D, like employee data, like we can really use that to start to come in and analyze data. Again, we have a lot of people say I don't like math. Fantastic. My AI is called Charlie. So I use ChatGPT. Man, I let Charlie do that sort of stuff. Charlie seems to love it too. So redesigning jobs, creativity and innovation. What I would suggest is try it. Throw it out there and try it. You're going to create that competitive edge. Use that for workforce planning, employee engagement, so many things that you can come in and use, that you can use AI for. And what I would throw to you is that it is not enough about adoption. It's really about adaption. It is really about taking AI and adapting it to your use. So, and now what concerns me and why I bring up AI in this session. This is a 2025 study. 1/4 to 2/3 of HR departments still have not adopted AI. There are so many things that AI can help with. And let me just tell you one of my biggest concerns, beyond AI, you are affecting your personal brand. Your personal brand is everything you say and do or don't do at the organization. If you are not adopting AI, if you are not trying to lead this effort, no one is going to come in and give you innovation efforts or organizational-wide efforts. That's my bigger concern. And although we're tired of it, we're tired of talking about it, that's because I want you to leap into the deep end of the pool. And you just say, by gosh, I'm going to do this. Even if it kills me, I'm going to do it. Because this is your brand. I want you coming in and telling war stories of how you got something goofy back, of how it didn't work. Because that means that you're on the cutting edge of actually trying it. And that's where I want you. I want you leading, HR taking the lead. And your brand is wrapped up in what you don't do in the office. So from adoption to adaption, I want you leading that digital transformation. Why? Because 70% of transformation fails because of people, not because the technology is not good. We have to have you. Your company has to have you in that room. Your company has to have you leading transformation, including digital transformation. As an idea, I'm going to throw out something crazy. Why not lead AI training in your organization? Why not? You should be leading this. You don't have to be an expert. You bring in somebody who knows this. That's what I want. I want you leading that level of transformation in your organization because it's about innovation. Those departments that are drowning in repetitive tasks, focus on them. Focus on those sales departments. Focus on your engineering departments. Who needs help? Lead digital transformation with them. You don't need to be the expert. You're not going to be the one leading the class. That's all right. You're going to sit in on the class so that you can learn from it. But you're leading that. That is innovation. That is like rock star HR taking the lead. Now, what I want you to do is we think about this idea of strengthening your leadership, elevating your strategic role, and harnessing emergent technologies. The first thing I want you to do, so this is a little sort of roadmap, if you will. So in the first 1 or 2 weeks, I've asked you to do that SWOT, gap, fishbone combo. I want you, what you learned in that, I want you to surface one business critical pain point. So in this next 1 to 2 weeks, I want you to focus, I want you to find, based on I want you to run that SWOT, the SWOT, gap, fishbone. I want you to surface one pain point for your business. Then I want you to figure out decide what needs to happen in order to make an impact on that. Is it, maybe you need to refresh your communications at an executive level. Maybe you need, by God, I need some finance fluency crash course. I need an AI crash course, an adaption move. What is it that you need to do? And here I'm starting with you, but also find one business case. I mean, again, start with yourself. It's always a great place to be in. Over the next 4 to 12 weeks, I want you to block 2 recurring 60-minute calendar slots each week. One to learn, one to apply. Treat them like they are immovable meetings. Immovable meetings. Again, back to how we started this, that I want you focusing on you. In order to do that, you need time. I'm asking for 2 hours out of 40. As if you work 40 hours, right? You're like, Val, that'd be a dream if I worked 40 hours a week. But I'm asking for 2. I'm asking for 2. And when you get this idea to change it, you're going to, no, Val's looking down on me. She's going to be mad if I change this meeting. She's going to be mad if I change this meeting to focus on somebody else. Because you deserve time yourself to elevate your skills. So, week 1, we're going to diagnose. We're going to pick something to focus on. Let's pick, we can pick ourselves. I like that. We can also pick one business idea. In week 3, we're going to figure out, we're going to decide what we're going to do. Then we're going to do it. Then we're going to do it. We're going to pilot and measure. Am I better? Am I better? Is the business case better? Run an experiment. Track a single metric. Time saved, executive alignment, whatever that is. Think about that before we start it. And then I want you to share the win and onward so that every 3 months you are focusing on something of impact to your organization. You are focusing on something of impact to your organization. That's how we go forward. All right, folks. We are at the end. Thank you so much for joining me. I got lots of goodies. So do I have time left? Oh, yes, I do. I got 5 minutes left. Woohoo! All right. I thought this time clock was wrong up here. Does anybody have questions? I'd love to take some questions if anybody's got them. But you got to go to the microphone so that our folks online can hear. So it's the only punishment. But I'm delighted. Who's got a question? All right.
Val?
Is anybody?
Hi, Val.
Oh, there we go. Hi, I'm sorry.
Hi, no
I could
problem.
see nothing.
There's a lot of bright lights up there on you. I've got a question for you. You talk about getting in with your sales department, who's making the money, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All of this is great, and I've seen you talk before. You're wonderful. So, Val, now what I need is, how do I apply that to government?
Oh, God.
You're welcome.
Find a new job? No. Did I just say that? God, that's a tough, that's a very, the challenge with government is it's so political, right? So how I would focus on that, salespeople want to sell. What is it that your government folks want? What is it that your leaders want? They want to look good in front of their people. So make them look good. Tackle into what matters to them. And it is, I mean, right now, the challenge right now is everything is so, I mean, just, it's so unpredictable. Like that's the challenge right now. So what I would focus on is how it's going to make them look good to help them potentially retain their job. By the way, it's the same for you. Now is the time in government that you want to make sure every friggin' person on the planet knows your strategic contribution. Not just your boss. Everybody's got to know it. Because of the fact to potentially help you with all the, particularly the cutbacks is what I'm concerned about. It's sort of being layered into that. But go after making your boss look good, and hopefully they will remember that if they are tasked with slashing people. So that's how I would go in. And I'm telling you, I would grease that wheel. I'd be like, boss, I want to make you look great. Here's what's going to make you look fantastic. I would be so overt about that, it would be pathetic. Now, have to be backed with something. It's got to be backed with something that makes them look good. And I just feel like by attaching yourself, they will see you as somebody who is invaluable and has to stay around. Hopefully there's something in there. Let me think on it as well. If you want to email me, we can strategize offline about that as well. But
we have time for one more question.
Yes. I'm just sneaking it in.
I need the mic.
They're going to be so mad at me.
Mic on.
There we go. Val, first I want to say thank you so much. I've come to many of your sessions over the last couple of years, and you really present real world things for us and tools for us to use. So thank you so much for that.
You are so welcome. That is always my goal.
My question, though, is around the time to be able to do this. You mentioned something earlier that you check email 2 times a day. But for those of us who are transitioning to a hybrid or a fully remote work environment, it's really difficult to not be available throughout the day when that's the electronic method is the only way. So how do you suggest keeping time to ourselves to be able to do these things, yet still be available throughout the day to the people who need us?
Yeah, absolutely. I still go back to the exact same thing. First off, let me tell you, the only person, I make sure, so with my team, I have 5 folks who report to me. We have a communications norms. We have standards on how we communicate. And everybody knows this. Oh, I'm getting the hook. All right, so we come in. So I have communication norms that I know that I state that if you send me an email, please know that I only check it twice a day. So if you need something urgently, you need to hit me on cell phone. And by the way, my boss and everybody else knows that. And so, and I make it so that if it's urgent, by God, you call me, you text me, you Slack me. You do something other means other than email, because email is just such a drag. All right, I'm getting the hook here. So I'll tell you, email me if anybody's interested. I got some really nice things that can come in to give you more detail on this.
Let's give it up for Val Grubb. Absolutely.